Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. My name is Muhammad Karol Anwar bin Ishaq. My metric number A19A0354. Okay. First, let's go to introduction part. Okay, the coronavirus disease pandemic of 2019 is a highly contagious respiratory virus that poses a serious threat to mankind. Okay, the COVID-19 epidemic has grown at an alarming rate, visually hurting economic activity and the supply chain as many countries tighten movement restrictions to prevent the virus from spreading futures. According to the World Bank, the baseline prediction for global gross domestic product reduction by 2020 is 5.2%. Human capital degradation happened as a result of lesser investment, fragmentation of global commerce and supply links, and employment and school loss. This has an impact on the global supply chain system, international product and service trade. According to the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, the value of global goods trade is expected to decrease by 5.6% in 2020 compared to 2019. In comparison to 2019, the articulation reduction in trade service is large, which a 15.4% drop expected in 2020. As a result, the outbreak has exposed the global supply chains flow and vulnerabilities by interrupting national nodes and internal supply chains. Okay, next we go to research question. The first research question is what impact did the trading industry receive when COVID-19 hit the world? The second, what are the relevant strategies provided by the government in their respective countries to create a resilient global supply chain despite the COVID-19 pandemic? And lastly, what when lastly whether the coherent data development analysis CODA method create to assess the level of vulnerability of the supply chain system of the six ASEAN countries work or not. Okay, next part we go to research objective. First objective is to know the impact received by the trading industry when COVID-19 hit the world. Second objective to find out whether the coherent data development analysis CODA method create to assess the level of weakness of the supply chain system of the six ASEAN countries is function or not. The last objective to know the relevant strategies provided by the government in their respective countries to create a resilient global supply chain even in the COVID-19 outbreak. That's all. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Muhammad Aziz Zainal, my metric number A19A0336. Now I will present about problem statement. The pandemic of COVID-19 has a negative influence on the worldwide trade supply chain. Countries whose economies are based on global commerce, either as exporter or importer, are experiencing a decline in import and export. This is due to the disruption of the global supply chain, primarily participants like manufacture, logistics and transportation sector, as well as a slowdown in overseas client demand. This study outlined the method needs to build a resilience global supply chain in the face of the COVID pandemic. The focus of research. Numerous research have produced papers on the application of SCRM, which include every aspect of risk management. The major purpose was to demonstrate ways that could assist lessen the impact of COVID-19 threat and to propose appropriate solution to strengthen supply chain and increase resilience capability. Because of the COVID-19 disruption, network partnership, inter-organizational capabilities, and resource sharing are all required. So that's all for me. Thank you.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Rotika Butisanso Anwar and my metric number is A1980535. I will continue this presentation with my part. The significance of this study is to examine the extent of the effectiveness of the coding method for measuring resilience-based risk assessment and efficiency metric. At the same time, achieving our objective to know the impact received by the trading industry when COVID-19 hit the world. The importance of this study is the vulnerability, risk, and resilience of the supply chain since the outbreak of the COVID-19. This method has caught the attention of many people in the world. Thus, vulnerability are used to assess system vulnerability against a variety of risk-based threat scenario with a focus on the severity of a contained event and their probability. In contrast, resilience refers to ability of a system to recover quickly and continue to operate. The risk assessment process is important for the development of a strong supply chain in terms of risk management. The result of the risk assessment also enables supply chain partners to know or to understand their level of risk. Next, important to study supply chain efficiency to represent the level of risk rate, vulnerability, and a recovery rate, which are respectively defined as direct input and direct output. Use coding model assessment based on traditional DARE calculation that include intramural structure for supply chain efficiency score assessment. With the coding method, company can avoid the intermediate step between node and the virtual intermediate step or the efficiency of the previous node score is replaced. Next part is hypothesis. The hypothesis is the COVID-19 pandemic have a significant impact on global trade, particularly in the logistics, supply chain, and transportation sector. The industry has been disrupted as a result of strict restriction and regulation imposed on all company operators in order to contain the spread of this pandemic. As a result, many company profit have declined and various observations have been made to increase their company profit in the long run. COVID-19, a higher contagious respiratory virus that pose a major threat to humans, is the global coronavirus disease pandemic of 2019. The COVID-19 pandemic is spreading at an alarm rate, slowing economic activity and the supply chain as many countries tighten movement restriction to prevent the virus from spreading. Human capital is being eroded by declined investment, the breakdown of global trade and supply tie, and the loss of job and education. The risk assessment process is critical for the development of a strong supply chain in terms of risk management. Risk management also assists supply chain partners in determining their level of vulnerability or risk. Many global companies or countries place a high value on risk management. The finding and observation of the research allow them to take effective action to address this issue. That's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and hi, my name is Muhammad Ali Asghar bin Amirullah and my metric number is A19A1007. So today I'm going to present on the methodology of the research. So first is on CODIA parameter for vulnerability assessment of a global supply chain. The first one is this study's conceptual framework is based on CODIA's theoretical vulnerability, risk, and resilience. And the second thing is the CODIA's design accommodates inputs and outputs for supply chain vulnerability assessment. Next is on the global trade supply chain and the data of countries. So this is the summary, which is first, on Singapore's main revenue source is foreign commerce, and second is Thailand's export lead economy accounts for over 65% of its GDP, and the third is foreign direct investment has been one of the main drivers of Malaysia GDP development in recent years. Fourth is Indonesia's exports have fueled economic expansion. Fifth is Vietnam's export have risen in recent years, boosted by a low minimum wage and low utility prices. And last one is the Philippines export about third of its GDP. So that is summary from Trading Economics 2020 data for 6 Asian countries. Next is on finding and result of the research. Efficiency scores of export and logistic and transportation sector. And the first is the efficiency scores of countries' exports, logistics and transportation sectors reveal that high efficiency scores reflect low sector risk. And next is Vietnam's has the lowest vulnerability, while the Philippines export industry is the most vulnerable. Indonesia has the lowest logistics and transportation vulnerability, while Thailand has the highest vulnerability. And for the export network efficiency of studied country, first is the efficiency of export network refer to the efficiency of exporters of chains and logistics and transportation. And second is the efficiency of the preceding step increases by 3 times in relation to total output and input exceeding the total number of DMUs. And last one is on efficiency of import and overall global supply chain. So only Hong Kong scored 1 for efficiency, leaving a large efficiency difference between it and other important importing country. Vietnam has the highest export system linked to China. So all in all, in summary, the countries with the lowest COVID-19 supply chain vulnerability are Vietnam, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, and Thailand. So I think that's all from me. Thank you. I shall pass to the next presenter.
Hi, my name is Alamin bin Hamid, my metric number A19A0035. So today I will present about implications or contribution of the research. The implications can be said to be an effect but different because it is a notion, thought, wisdom in predicting a situation. In the global trade supply chain management implications, this metric can be used to generate scenarios and insight into resilience, relate to risk treatment strategies so that trading countries are able to take good care of their economies. In this study, the study contribute the acceptable metrics and statistics needed in analyzing the weakness, risk, and overall resilience of the global supply chain. The contribution to this study is also that the study used economics, risk, and resilience-based efficient assessment for the metrics that have been applied. Next is recommendation or limitation and future study. Relationship or cooperation can be done by global trading companies to assist other companies in reducing the risk of trading losses. In terms of limitation, the global trade has some limitation that influence the study studied. First, the study is limited to countries with trade ties. For future study, our company will provide improvement metric to evaluate result more efficiently and accurately to avoid losses during the COVID-19 pandemic. The brief summary of the study. A summary of the study studied show some of the declines and weaknesses of the global trade chain in this COVID-19 pandemic. This is because the chain system during the COVID-19 pandemic has been very strict movement controls and caused the trading company to experience a decrease in trade sales and suffer losses. There are people with high export revenues and low export revenues are close to the shortfall. However, there are countries with low export leading them to reflect their high weakness. There are also proposal to help the country in a trade economy. Among them, establishing trade ties and helping to stabilize the country economies.